So you needed a lot of debt to do this. And bankers were borrowing a lot of money. They saw the low interest rates and the favorable environment in housing to be very good for money, to make money. So they began to borrow recklessly and lend recklessly. So then we have the equation for the crisis. Unjustified low interest rates after our economy had recovered, combined with too much borrowing by the banks, led to a housing boom because of too much money available, too much borrowing. Interest rates are very favorable in a good economy. When the economy is good, interest rates shouldn't be that favorable. This led to the crisis. Once housing starts going down and bankers start realizing losses after they have borrowed so much, it becomes a ripple effect. And then when bankers have to realize these losses, they wouldn't lend anymore because they have borrowed so much. They couldn't lend anymore. They wouldn't lend to consumers. They wouldn't lend to small businesses. They wouldn't lend to each other. So we had the financial crisis. As you can see here in the stock market index, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, in 2008, the stock market crashed. See that huge cliff? The economy basically fell off a cliff. So after reflecting on the causes and the outcomes of the financial crisis, I asked myself, could there be any solutions? And the first thing that comes to mind is to make the system simple. We can't control our emotions, and we can't control that when the economy becomes euphoric and money to be borrowed is cheap, people become too optimistic and create bubbles such as housing. But we can make things simple, and one quote I like from Warren Buffett, world's second richest man and very good investor, he says he only likes to buy businesses that an idiot can run. And basically that's what you have to do with the financial system. You have to create a financial system that anybody could run, because eventually people who are not that smart will run it. So my first solution is to limit banking leverage, or limit the degree which banks can borrow money. As we had seen, leverage ratios were really high. And as an example, a 30-to-1 leverage ratio means that if the assets of a bank, such as loans, fall down in value by 4%, the bank becomes insolvent. So a little decline in value, boom, the bank becomes insolvent. And when a bank becomes insolvent, can't lend, can't stimulate the economy. And this happened to many banks, Wachovia, Washington Mutual, a lot of banks. And it created everybody stopped lending. It created the crisis. So limiting leverage, limiting debt by banks, being able to borrow too much would be the first thing. The second thing is to make banks boring. Make them go back to the traditional ways. Banks, in the simple way, borrow money from the depositors, and those deposits are insured by the FDIC, by the government. And then they borrow, and they're able to borrow money with low rates because the deposits are insured, and they lend out to consumers. It's a very boring business, and it just should remain that way. It shouldn't get too complex. But at the peak, before the crisis went downwards, spiraled downwards, banks were combined with investment banks and other financial institutions that just took way too many risks. They would have this easy money from deposits, which is insured by the government, and then they took risks in the market, speculating on prices and doing all sorts of things. And when you have a bank that's so important to the economy, also taking a lot of risks, the risks go bad, which many of those risk taking went bad, you're going to have a lot